You're locked in to the Chocolate Mass Show.
What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Chocolate Mass Show. I'm your host for the jokes, the Chocolate Mass Baby, aka Jamie Mitchell, and I've got a very, very, very special guest with me today on this episode of Fit Fam, the Natty Goat, the Natty King, man like Thanos, Mr. Rob Waterhouse. Rob, how you doing, bro?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. As you can see, I'm living luxury life right now, and from the background, Rob's clearly living in some shindig somewhere, just not enjoying life right now by the looks of things.
That's it. All I'm interested in, though, are you doing the podcast on the same chair as you do for leg extensions?
Do you know what? I am. I am. It is that same optimal chair.
Good. That's the only reason I agreed to come on. So.
I'm gonna be giving you my secrets basically on how to get the stupidly massive quads, right?
Indeed.
So Rob, how are you?
How should we say? Over it are you with the home workouts, or are you kind of just like at peace with it now?
Do you know what? I was at peace with it. I was very much at peace with it, and then I got to the point where I was like, I just can't stand it. But I interviewed, Taff.
Yeah.
I interviewed him a few days ago, and we were talking things out, and I was like, do you know what? You give me an idea. So I was doing loads of walking lunges at the weekend and started doing some stuff outside. So I've got a bit of love for it again. And plus, it's only like 7 more weeks now until obviously the gyms are open. But it's just a pain in the ass. I just really can't be bothered anymore, in all honesty.
It's one of them, innit? I think it's like, without getting off subject, really, it's the whole thing with going to the gym and some music on in the car with a pre-workout. It's like walking behind your couch. It just isn't the same thing. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I mean, I was fortunate enough with lockdown to the garden workout. At least I was going outside to train.
Yeah.
I think it's even worse if you're just actually in the same room in a house.
Oh, mate, this is why I had to get the other job as well, to just leave the flat, because I'm looking around and I'm like, right, you was a gym 10 minutes ago. Now you're an actual like living space, and I just can't. And then I'm looking at weights that I can't be bothered to put away. I'm like, mate, just get me out of here. It's driving me mad. Your home workouts, though, they were legendary, mate. You nearly killed yourself for that barbell quite a few times.
That's it. I've had a few people saying a little bit upset that they didn't get the same amount of like workout videos and stuff from me this time around. But obviously, I changed the scenery. So I expect at some point they'll probably be back again. Hopefully they won't be, but
yeah, fingers crossed. Well, they've said the 12th of April, and then gyms can reopen. So it's only like 6 or 7 weeks, and then I mean, I don't know if you've seen like the UK news updates. They reckon by June, end of June, I think it is, all restrictions could be lifted.
Just evaporated, back on the town.
Yeah, traveling about and for us going to optimal gyms, or for you. So, because people are probably wondering, where are you right now?
I'm in Dubai.
Nice. And are you out there? Are you on the influencer holiday, just extended, or?
I'm Mr. Influential at the moment. Riding on camels all day, basically. No, so we came out for a week's holiday in December. Last year, we spent New Year's here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's now I've, gotten my missus into a bit of a habit of, she doesn't like being at home for New Year's. So 2019, we went to Australia for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So we were there for that one, and then Dubai last year, and then obviously Dubai again this year. So it was only really supposed to be for a week, and then we were supposed to be going back to work, but obviously then shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
So we just thought, you know what, it makes no sense whatsoever to come back. So that's why we're still here. Like,
just
weeks later, yeah.
Do you you reckon it could be a permanent move for you guys? Would you live out there?
Yeah, yes and no. The longer I spend here, the more I kind of miss some of the stuff in the UK, if I'm honest.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, bodybuilding now is absolutely phenomenal over here. Like it's like football is in the UK over here.
That's mad.
So like everyone's just like, absolutely loves muscle everywhere. You can it's even so like conducive to like eating and training. Like here, it's like, in the UK, right, unless you live in London, if you want sushi, you've got to really hunt it out, haven't you? Really, you're lucky to get a packet. Like you can literally just like order your groceries and order sushi, like it'll be in your doorstep within like 20 minutes. It's like, so like, how should we say, it makes you very, very comfortable at just like getting hold of foods and like eating and training and stuff like that. It's very, very kind of like, you know, easy to do, and I can see why people do it. However, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm not homesick, because I'm not, because it's the wrong word, but it's like there's certain aspects of the UK, I think maybe some of the people and things like that, where you just miss. So it's kind of, for me, it's like I would rather come and spend the winters here.
Yeah.
In the UK, because apparently here in summer it's too warm as well.
Right.
So
okay.
we haven't experienced that yet. So, you know, I'm sure if anyone's been to a hot country where it's too hot to do anything, it's like it probably ruin your experience of it. You know.
Yeah.
So here's me whinging about it being too hot, but it's fucking freezing in the UK. But you know, it's actually nice here now. Do you know what I mean? It's like 25 degrees, and it's really bearable. But when it's up in high, like, you know, mid 40s or whatever, I think everyone just loses their shit and doesn't do anything.
Mate, so imagine doing cardio steps with 40 degrees. You'd be shredded within like 4 days.
Mate, yeah, I would be. Perma shreds. So anyway, that's enough about Dubai life. I'm sure not everyone wants to hear all about it, but you know.
Oh, right. I've actually got the good thing is I'm doing this on my laptop, so I've got my phone here ready for questions. So I've got loads of questions because, like I said in the intro earlier, so Rob is a natural pro bodybuilder, but he's also, I don't know, are you the only natural IFBB pro that you know of?
I'd like to say yes. In the UK, I think I am.
Cool.
But there is actually a few guys I know of who have turned pro naturally.
Right.
Like Quentin Beastwood was one. Keown Pearson is apparently one as well. Obviously, they haven't come, like Quentin Beastwood was a WNBF pro.
Right, okay. Oh, wow.
And so was Sean Clarida, and so was Kai Green.
Yeah.
Now, I think that obviously people like Kai Green, he may have won his pro card naturally. I don't know.
Right.
I know Sean Clarida was a big name in WNBF for a while, but he probably crossed over before he won his pro card.
Right.
But I know Quentin Beastwood was one, and there's another Canadian guy who actually won a pro show as well. So he's done one better than I have, effectively, because I've only come 9th out of 10th.
Right,
so,
right.
I ain't winning no Natty Pro Awards just yet.
Well, you haven't, to us in the UK, you definitely have.
Yeah,
and I know that weekend where you was competing, everyone was tuned into the streams, and like, I just kept checking social media, looking for updates. And when we see that you won your pro card, I was literally like, felt like I'd won it. I was like, oh my, look what he's done. Look what he's done. It was amazing. I can speak on behalf of everyone. I'm sure they would agree. It was amazing. It was so good to see.
It was brilliant. I mean, you know, the amount of support, and it's very, very overwhelming when you think back, because you're always kind of moving on to the next thing. And I think that, you know, at the time, it was like, and my clients and stuff, like, you know, sent me videos of them like jumping around the living room and things. You know, so like those moments are like absolutely cool as, and it's good to have the support from everyone, and everyone sort of support each other in that anyway. It's, you know, it's nice when someone does well and people are behind it, you know, rather than kind of envious in some ways, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's just credit to you, how you are. You're not a person that I find strikes envy with people. Like, basically, you're not a dick. So people really got no reason to be like that. So, right. So I'm going to get a couple of the sort of more funnier questions out of the way, because I'm really excited to ask you other questions and learn the secrets. So the first one, everyone gets asked, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No, for me. No.
Really?
No, I just don't think fruit and pizza goes. It's either got to be all meat,
right,
or nothing for me. So, yeah, no pineapple on pizza.
Okay, if I ever want to turn pro, I'm guessing I'm going to have to take the pineapple off. I'll do that.
All about protein intake, so you know this.
Really random, because not everyone will know this, but you've got the nickname Thanos. Now, I knew you was Thanos, and I'll never forget, was it 2019, BNBF Midlands? My friend Jack was competing, and Dan Norris was competing. And you was walking massive, and you had this Thanos t-shirt on. And I think you had about 11 or 12 clients, like just all sort of flocked to you. And you was like, come on, let's go and have a look at you. He's walking off. And I was like, that's why they call him Thanos. But where did the name come from? Where did Thanos come from?
I think it's actually Delroy who gave me the nickname originally.
Right, okay.
And I think that one of it might have been someone did a side-by-side comparison of Thanos' arm and my arm or something. I think so.
Right.
And then it might have been that, but I think it was just Delroy just used to call me. And then obviously I then had an obsession with Thanos anyway when all the Marvel films were out. And then I think it just went from there, really. So yeah, so I don't quite know, other than the fact that Daryl used to call me it, and then yeah, I would say he was definitely my favourite. So yeah.
big shout out to Delway and big shout out to Thanos, aka you. Right, are you a boobs or a bum man?
Boobs.
Oh, right, okay, right. Here for the optimal breast. Right.
That's it. Yeah. That's
cool.
It.
And you see that straight to the point. He's like, yeah, this is what I am. This is what I am. So that's sort of the fun questions. Now, obviously, you're a bodybuilder who knows a lot about equipment, about gyms, everything like that. So I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite brand? Because there's so many brands of kit now. And obviously, I know you know that I love different gym equipment. And, you know, you've got equipment like Hammer Strength, which is kind of like the go-to and all stuff like this. But have you, especially being out in Dubai, have you used any brands of kit that have like really stood out to you and you're like, this is the most optimal, this is the best?
That's a tough question. Because for the last 10 years, I have worked in hundreds of health clubs around the UK, basically. So for a job, we go into a gym every 6 weeks. We do a big promotion for the gym, and then we move gyms. So we do obviously different marketing campaigns. Now that's from bodybuilding gyms to like high-end health spas who have all these kind of like, and you'll often find like a diamond in the rough. Like you're going to like Hilden Park Golf Club. Have got a really nice seated back row machine, right? Just a pin loaded one, but the angles of it and everything, I don't know who even makes it. It might be but I don't even know who makes it, but Gym 40 or something, Gym 80. Right. And so it's like little things like that. And I tell you, there's just, if I could put together like if I could put together a gym with like no kind of like, you know, money wasn't an object kind of thing, there would definitely be some Nitrum equipment in there. You've ever heard of Nitrum equipment?
Yeah.
If you ever look up a 3D row, it's one of the best chest-supported T-bar row machines I've ever used.
Right.
Okay, so look at that. And they're not expensive either. They're about 1,500 quid, and it's like fucking mega big kit. Because it's like a T-bar row chest support, but it's got you can put the handles where you want them.
Ah, right. Okay, cool.
Different variations. So there's that. But as I said, I think it's a blend. It depends on what piece of equipment we're talking about for what body part.
Right. Okay.
Like, I mean, you know, the incline hammer press strength machine, you know, hammer strength one, like you can't beat that for me for an incline chest support machine or chest machine. However, they are just some really cool little bits of kit that I've used it across, you know, years of obviously training in gyms and stuff. But like Lion hamstring curl, like the Live Fitness one, is always a good go-to. The hammer strength leg press is a very good angle, good plate load. So it's just like, I wouldn't say there's ever one. Like some Atlantis do some really nice bits of kit, and Prime does some really nice bits of kit. I think Prime's got a lot of traction at the moment because it's kind of like, you know, the go-to with a lot of the Gasp guys and stuff using it in the Gasp Texas.
Is that so? Is that what's blown it up? Is that what's done it?
Yeah, I think so, because you know, Lee Labrada's son,
Hunter
Labrada.
Yeah.
They train at the Destination Dallas gym, and they've got lots of Prime equipment there.
Right.
It's probably made it popular in the UK from Ultraflex.
Yeah.
So that's given it some traction, but they're very expensive bits of kit and very nice bits of kit. But as I said, for me, it'd be a blend. I couldn't say that. If I was going to build a gym, it wouldn't be one type of equipment.
So you wouldn't have, so you wouldn't say have like a Panatta or Hammer Strength, like licensed gym. You'd want bits of everything.
Yeah, because I think that, like, you know, you've got, like, with Panatta, and you've also got, like, the Arsenal strength machines. Like, they've just got some really wicked bits of kit.
Yeah.
There's a gym in Norwich called Fully Pumped where Mark Claxton trains.
Yeah, I've seen it. A lot of his stories training there. Yeah.
So when I go and stay with my mum and dad, like, they've got some fantastic bit of kit, and some of that is custom built. It's not by any brand. It's like,
right.
So I don't think you ain't going to have the best range of equipment if you stuck with one brand. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'd agree. And it's funny, going back to the Prime Fitness, there's a guy who owns a studio in Southampton. I think it's One-to-One Fitness. He's got a load of Prime stuff in there. And I couldn't believe it. And like, he's got the Prime Row. Have you used the Prime Row?
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. And I'd only seen it in like Flex Lewis's videos in the Dragon's Lair. So, and I'm seeing all these different places pop up now.
Are we talking about the humbler or just the normal chest support?
No, just the chest support one where it's got like the 3 points, top, middle, bottom, and then you're like laid down almost. I tell you where it's got a good humbler though. Phoenix Gym in Burgess Hill, Brighton. They've got a humbler. I don't know if it's because what brand is the humbler? It's not Arsenal Strength, is it?
That's Arsenal Strength.
Yeah, it's the Arsenal Strength one. I'm not sure if it is the Arsenal one, but they've got one there, and that thing was. I've used the Arsenal one. It was just as good as it.
Yeah.
That's
So
a really good one.
3D row machine by Nitram.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'll have to look at that. I'll definitely check that out. As you can tell, love equipment. Love equipment and love all the different bits you can play with. So, favorite muscle to train. What is your favorite muscle?
Chest for sure. I'm a true bro. It's never changed. I've loved it since day one, and I probably won't ever.
Why is that? Is that any reason in particular, or it's just because it is the one?
I just think a good chest pump cures a lot of things.
I'd agree.
So we never not felt better after the best chest pump.
Yeah. To be fair, I used to always do chest on a Monday at uni, and it'd be my longest day at uni, and I'd get into the gym in the evening and be like, guys, what we got? Chest, and just loads of bench, and you just think life's fine. Life's all right.
Chest pump can change your whole outlook on life for sure. So,
and what's your least favorite muscle to train?
I don't know if I have one. Well, that's a hard question.
Or the least arousing?
Well, it's the thing is, just I really enjoy training legs, but it's the love-hate relationship for sure. Mm-hmm. Especially because if you'd asked me this when I was 20, then I would have said legs.
Right.
But now I'd say it's my least favorite, only because of injury-wise and old man knees.
Right.
Like numbers I used to be able to put up when I was like 20 was like, phenomenal compared to now. Like 3 plates aside from me now, squatting is horrendous.
Right.
But when I was used to do that for 20 reps when I was like 20. So, so anyone who's young listening to this podcast, you've got it all to look forward to.
So you're telling me now is the time to train legs with you, because we're not going to be going crazy weight-wise. I can
still bench more than I can squat almost. So like that's how.
Well, you've got insane legs anyway. And so a question about legs then. Just a debate I'm having with people at the moment. Squats or lunges? What do you prefer?
Oh, it depends what context, really. I'm going to say squats.
Okay.
But I do think that getting good at lunges is, how should we say, a basic fundamental that you should have in your kind of like, your arsenal, if you like. I think so many people, they kind of like, do it as an afterthought. But if you get strong on lunges, you can't overlook what it does for your glute development.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys, especially younger, like, they'll have quite good quad development, but they'll be quite weak in the glute department. And there's a massive difference with that, like getting them in shape. The more muscle you have there, the kind of easier it is to a certain point.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people, they keep dieting down. Their glutes just get smaller, but they're actually not conditioned. It's because they don't have enough muscle in that area. Right. So it can't really be overlooked, to kind of, like for me, a backwards barbell lunge off a plate is like my absolute go-to.
Right.
And it's something I've been doing probably for the last 2 years, like week in, week out, and it's made massive differences to the glute development. So, and that was a tip from Ben Wardley, if anyone knows who that is. He's a very, very good DFAT Pro and WNBF Pro.
Right, okay.
World champion, so yeah.
Wow, okay. All right, so he's up there then.
Insane glutes.
Yeah. So it's going to seem like a silly question, but I wrote it down anyway. Career highlights, because you've been a DFAT Pro, which I mean, tell the people what's a DFAT Pro for those that are listening that are like, I don't really know what that is. What is a DFAT Pro?
DFAT Pro is when you turn pro with the BNBF, so you become a drug-free athletes coalition pro, because that is the, how should we say, the pro division of that affiliate, basically. Mm-hmm. So it gets complicated with bodybuilding because you've obviously got, when you're UK FDA amateur and you win the pro card, you go to the WNBF Pro. So you've kind of got it like your amateurs and then your kind of affiliates. Like the NPC is the amateur division of then the IFBB Pros. So that's kind of how it works. So
right, okay. So so you was a DFAT Pro. So did you ever? So this is a little bit more in-depth. So anyone that's listening that might not understand, but stay with us. So obviously you've got WNBF and you've got DFAT. Did you choose DFAT specifically, or did you sort of just fall into it and that's Am I still there?
No, I lost you completely then.
Oh, we back?
Yeah, I missed all of that from when we finished the last question.
That's all right. So obviously with you being a DFAC pro, did you choose, so you've got the two natural divisions, you've got WNBF pros, DFAC pros. Did you choose DFAC specifically? Or did you have aspirations to go for WNBF, or sort of how did you choose that that's who you wanted to compete with?
So, I mean, my very first show I ever did was with the BNBF.
Mm-hmm.
And in that very first year, I won the junior British title.
Right.
So my kind of, I wouldn't say almost even loyalties. It was just the fact that, like, I always kind of had in my mind that that was the better of the two federations in regards to natural talent, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely say the UKFDA has got bigger over time, but especially when I first started competing, like, the UKFDA was kind of not really as well recognised, I don't think.
Right.
But I might be wrong, and this might just be where you fit into, really. So, Mike, I wouldn't say even kind of loyalties like there, but, like, you know, I had such a great experience. Why did I ever want to compete anywhere else?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you know, all the, like, you know, the really good guys, wasn't until maybe later on that I'd sort of, like, started to follow some of the other guys like Richard Goddecki and people like that who were obviously very, very good, you know, obviously at that level. But yes, so that was, it wasn't, I guess, through choice, but it was just like, you know, I believe myself that that was the best standard to be competing at, and I wanted to compete against the best, really. So that was my thoughts, yeah.
Nice. And how many, have you won world titles as a pro? How many pro shows have you won?
So, yeah, so I mean, I won my pro card in 2013, and then from there I did my first pro show, which was the DFAC, and I came 5th in the heavyweights there. But then the years after that, took a couple of years out, and then 2016 they then split the divisions, lightweight, heavyweight still. So I won the lightweight pro world title then, and then defended it again the next year as well in 2017. So.
That's insane. And as a lightweight, how much did you weigh? Like, what's the cutoff point for lightweights?
73 kilos.
And if you guys have seen, I'm not advanced enough to be able to, like, share screens and that yet. I'm gonna get better as time goes on. But 73 kilos. Yeah,
and that's pretty much my contact weight now still as well. So.
And that's what it was at the Two Bro show, wasn't it? The one you just won.
Yeah, it's about 73 and a half, 74 kilos, like, carved up, like, to the brim on, you know, 20 kilos of potatoes. So that was the that was kind of like my stage weight has always been around the same. Like, even when I turned pro, I was like 76 kilos.
Right.
Definitely not as sharp. I was probably a bit fuller and a bit, you know, not quite as sharp in areas. So kind of added muscle and then got more condition. And I think that's what you find as you do this for longer. You'll kind of always find there's another level to your conditioning that you kind of need to bring, I think, especially when you're competing in sort of like pro level.
Yeah.
You know, that's what kind of separates your first and second places, really, to be honest. So.
That's absolutely insane. So with all that in mind, again, this seems like a silly question, but what would you say your career highlight was? Because obviously you said you won a junior British title, and then when you turn pro, I imagine turning pro would just be amazing anyway. But would you say, what's your career highlight?
So turning pro definitely was. I actually feel like, 2016 pro win was great because it was like, you know, from feeling like in 2013 from doing my first pro show, it was said among some of the pros, like, you do realise, like, you might never ever win a show again. Because it was like, that wasn't like people being dicks. It was just like, look, everyone else is this good. You're kind of like 5th in the heavyweights. The people I were competing against at that time as well were obviously going to be like Chevron Cunningham and a few other people. So it was kind of at that point where I was like, right, am I ever going to be able to bridge that gap to get bigger? Like, the guys had bigger structures, do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So I was like the bottom end of the heavyweights, and I was thinking, I'm just never going to make that. So until they split that, it was kind of like, didn't realise I was going to win a show again. So 2016 was definitely a career highlight. However, 2017 world title, if you like, defense, if you like, was probably even better. I actually beat a guy called Moji Alwa, who was like a WNBF pro and like DFAC pro legend. Like, his guy's got Olympic medals in powerlifting and in weightlifting, and he's also won multiple overalls as a lightweight and middleweight in the WNBF.
Right.
So he was like a huge scalp to take, actually.
Right.
And it was coming off. The reason why it was so, I guess, meaningful to me was because I had a very shit placing at the Grand Prix 5 or 6 weeks prior to that.
Oh, right. Okay.
Fourth out of 6, I think it was.
Right.
And at the show day, I was thinking I was going to get second. And then on reflection, it was like you left the door open because I'd basically just not come in hard enough. And so it was very much kind of a bit of redemption, actually. And then I was very close to, well, in the overall going head-to-head with David Kay. I sort of bridged that gap a lot further than ever maybe had before. So that was quite good to get that kind of recognition.
That's cool.
That was definitely like to kind of like, from like having placed shit in the show,
Yeah.
to then winning was kind of like, you know, doing the business and rather than just like throwing the toys out the pram. And then obviously the IFBB Pro card win, obviously that's the biggest career highlight to date for sure, because
Yeah.
I think it was just very much, say it was unexpected, it wasn't, as in, like, I always believed I could do it from in classic for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that going into the show, I was very much in the mindset of like my miss, like it all happened because my missus had taken a look at me from like 3 days out.
Right.
And if you propose to anyone who knows kind of what you really look like when you're absolutely 100% on the money, like I'd been maybe for Worlds like 2 or 3 years prior.
Yeah.
It was a look of like, ooh. And I was like, what? What's wrong? She's like, oh, nothing. I was like, what's wrong? She's like, you're just not as hard as you usually are. And it was like that kind of like sinking feeling of like 3 days out from that show thinking, you could be a lot better, but we'll just see how we go. And I think that because I then all of a sudden just kind of, how should we say, lifted that expectation of me wanting to do well.
Yeah.
I just thought, you know what, fuck it, I'll go and enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously then to then come out with the way they did the call outs with that show was kind of mad as well. They sort of moved me to the middle, then they moved me out. And then it was just basically looking like I was good. I would have been happy to make the top 5. And then I obviously kept hearing my name. And then it was like, ended up taking the class win. And then in the overall, I was like, we've got such and such, you've got such and such. And everyone was talking about a couple of other guys who were backstage who were like, you know, favourites to take the pro card.
Yeah.
So I was just there to have fun. And that kind of came across in like the actual posing and everything. I was just like having a great time, you know. So to then come out of the win, it was really, really unexpected. So that has to be the icing on the cake for, even if I, as I said, never ever win a show again, I'll be happy with that one for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. And then, so how did it then feel? So then obviously turning pro, because I always, when people aren't really into bodybuilding and stuff, I describe it as you're like year 6 in a school, top of the school, and then you go to year 7 and you start from the bottom and go up. Did it feel like that when you then went to the pro show?
Yeah, it's horrible. You go from feeling like the biggest cock in the country, you know, like, oh, look at me, look how well I've done, da, da, da. And I'm not really like that, but you very much feel like you've kind of like achieved that kind of status, and you kind of feel like, you know, that you're like, you just feel like you're going to win every show from that point onwards. And then as soon as I got back, like sort of backstage and saw other people, I was like, okay, this is a different ball game, you know. This is, and then you could see them from the call outs, and it was like, you know, 3rd call out, and you like, I was totally at peace with it, but you literally go from feeling like the best bodybuilder in the country to the worst, all in a space of like 6 weeks. And it's very, very hard to deal with mentally, because I've done it all before. The same when I won turned pro as a natural in 2013.
Yeah.
So you went on there to Worlds, then placing 5th. You know, you go from feeling like being in the winner's circle to then like no one fucking really worried about, oh yeah, you look good. Like, okay, cheers. Yeah,
yeah. Thanks for that.
So yeah, it's one of them. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's also a very motivating one.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you ever go to a show and you don't place where you want to place, like that's the thing for me, is that I kind of thrive on wanting to take it to the next level. And I think that, you know, that's always something that I've done myself, where I've come off the back of a show and lost, or not placed where I've wanted to. It's only made me want to try harder. And I think you continue to raise the bar, and that's kind of where I'm going now, I think. So it's like, you know, you turn the notch, you turn the screw again in order to kind of like want to do better. And that's where I am at the moment.
I think that's, sorry, my cat's just meowing, get away. That's a really important mindset and a good way to flip it. Because I know obviously it's nowhere near on the scale of where you've competed, but I remember I had a couple of placings in the last prep that I did in 2018 where I didn't place where I felt I should have. Like while I was in the third call out, I was in third place, and then when they announced it all, they gave me fourth, and I was like, and I was really gutted by it. But same, I went home, sort of digested it, and was like, right, okay, cool. Another show to focus on. So let's just get better and let's show them, you know, what, you know, and that I can improve and that I can be what I think I am. And then I went to another show and then won my class because I was the only person in there. Went into the overall and then didn't win the overall. And I was like, and that was the show that I'd won the year before. And everyone was saying, even Fivos was like, I don't understand how you didn't win. And again, I was just like, right, okay. And it really does just knock you down. So I can't imagine, obviously with you, that's then amplified because you're at the top. You're competing at the top. So
I think that they always say it's kind of like a, without being big-headed, it's sort of true test of like champion mindset. It's like you can basically throw your toys out the pram and go, screw you, bodybuilding, like I've been done over. Or you kind of do it where you are undeniable. They have got no reason not to give you first place.
Yeah.
And you know, I've had that throughout competing throughout like my career with like bodybuilding. It was always like it's one of these things that like with like the BNBF, people who don't know the BNBF well always say like, well, you know, you only win if you're Scottish, right? Because obviously people who run the federation are Scottish. Now, it couldn't be further from the truth, but like every single time it comes up, I always use myself as an example. Like every single time that like I'd either won was against Scottish guys and either like won as a junior British champion and then the overall as in, because I just felt like at that time I was too good not to kind of like give them the nod.
Yeah.
So you can't leave the door open. And whoever has said, I never believed that was ever, it was always judged fairly. But for other people kind of like using that as an excuse, it's like you can't give them an excuse not to place you first.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to, like, sometimes you have to be that good in order to kind of like, you know, not kind of like, oh, well, you know, we could make the argument either way. You have to completely win blanket statement. And that's the kind of mindset you should have going into a show, like, you know, be undeniable. That's what you need to do.
I love that. And like I said, that is true champion mindset. Absolutely love that. That's wicked. Right. So I've got another one. So obviously you've been competing for years now. How long have you actually been training for then?
20 years now, since I was 14. So
you're allowed to have your bad knees then?
Yeah. It's a question I get asked all the time over in Dubai. They're like, oh, hello, sir, how many years? How many years do you have? Like 20. They're like, 20? Yeah, that's the difference, you know. It's like I say, as I've said before, it's like, you know, if you do anything well for 20 years, you should be pretty decent at it. And it's one of them things that when people are maybe training for like 2 or 3 years or 5 years and they feel like, okay, like they're really getting somewhere, it's like, it's only if you, something like bodybuilding, if you continue to do it and you don't take breaks, you'll continually get better. Or you should continue to get better. And that's the kind of thing, it just, you know, I feel like now at like 34, going on 35 next month, like I've got the best years of bodybuilding ahead of me, which is great.
Definitely, yeah. I think as well, like someone asked me what they think, like, you know, the age sort of cap and limit is. But I said, I feel like bodybuilding, like you say, if you're consistent and if you stick with it and you don't have gaps, I feel like you just get better with age. Like you literally just...
100%. And I feel like the reason why people kind of like, you know, don't really understand that analogy is because like football players and things like that, you know, the time you get to 30, like your legs are slowing down. With bodybuilding, like, you know, you're just coming out of that. Okay, you might have a better testosterone production when you're younger, but like, you know, you're getting that muscle density, maturity, and that kind of old man strength starting to kind of hit you where, you know, every fiber you've got is kind of like a big old oak tree. Do you know what I mean? It's just been refined and just kind of like, you know, grown over time. And that's the thing. And
that's, I will say, like you, and I'm not just saying this, obviously being biased, but like you, Rich, people like Sam Watt, Gav, like you guys are some of my favorite natural bodybuilders and you just constantly improve. And it makes me excited as a young bodybuilder because I'm like, I've got that to look forward to. Like, I know that like, I'm going to come into my time really, like you're just going to get better and better and better. And I think, like I say, for anyone that's listening to this that is starting out, and even for me, like I'm finding like I'm stronger than I've ever been. Like I can't do half the stuff I when I was younger, when I used to train. So I'm seeing the improvements now, and I'm thinking, well, that just shows there's just more to come. But you did say a very important thing is don't take gaps and be consistent if it is what you want to do.
Yeah, and that's definitely the thing. It's like, I mean, people just kind of harp on it enough about sort of consistency is key, but like I have never had a break from training, like never. As in, like, for any length of period of time that I would consider more than probably 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
Even with injuries. Like, we're talking when I was 18, I broke my ankle playing football.
Right.
And I was in a cast for 6 weeks, but I was back in the gym after 3 weeks, just like doing upper body stuff and hobbling around and everything. Right. So, like, you know, like over this period of time, when I really think about it, like from probably when I was 18, when I started eating properly, because the first 4 years of training was just like, you know, living at home with your mum and training, you know, maybe, you know, 3 or 4 times a week. But since that point, like I can't remember like days where like I've just been for a period where I haven't eaten like 5 meals a day. But even if I've been away, like if it's always been kind of like, as I say to my clients, it's almost like you keep that bodybuilder mentality in your brain all the time. What's going to give you the best return for bodybuilding? So even when I was like, you know, traveling in Australia and like in Bali and all these other places, like I would still get 4 or 5 meals in a day. You know, it might not be the best thing, but it was always like, you know, trying to get the consistency of the meals in. And I think that's like something over time that, as I said, if you do the basics well in bodybuilding, you'll always get far with it. So yeah, don't take time off, or if you can help anyway. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, because like my mum said to me on the phone the other day, she's like, are you always going to eat the way that you do? So I said I was cooking my salmon and I was like, I think so, yeah. Like it's the only time I don't really eat like a numerous amount of meals is like at Christmas, where like we had like smoked salmon and that in the morning, and then sort of ate a lunch. Then we had Christmas dinner. But then the next day I was like, right, can we have porridge this morning? Can we start it again? Can we get like numerous meals in? And I don't know, I feel like I'm just accustomed to eating that way now.
I think that is, especially if you've trained your body to eat that certain way, like, you know, if you create a demand for that food, first of all, then you should be kind of like hungry every 2 to 3 hours to a certain point. Depends on what your diet is, but you know, if you've only come, and especially if you're used to the sort of portion control and things like that, like your body will tell you when it's time to eat, and it's a very, very hard cycle to break, because I just feel like what do I do the rest of the day? I'm only probably loads of time to do other stuff. You know, you plan your day around food still, don't you? So it's quite.
That's what, like, being at this job, my meals, I still have the same amount, but they're a little bit further spread out, which is cool. But I'm still like today, I was like, right, it's 10:30. I was like, cool, boom, it's time for my smoothie. And it's funny because like the kids even know as well. They're like, oh, you're having your snot smoothie again because I've got the greens powder in it. But to me, that's just normal. And then obviously to like a couple of the guys are like, yeah, I'm probably not going to eat anything. I'll just wait until I get home. I'm like, until you get home, that's a long time. Like you're going to be not eating for a while. What?
I wish I could go back and do school all over again, like for like getting jacked purposes. Like it's the perfect like schedule, isn't it? You know, you've got breakfast like before you leave for school. You've got 10:30. You've got a break at 12. You finish school at 3. 5 o'clock dinner, and then like an 8 o'clock bed. You could have easily got 6 meals in a day without even trying. It's just routine.
Oh well, our future kids, they know what they've got to look forward to.
My kids will for sure. Yeah, that's
it. They'll be looking at your sword. You're like overall sword every day. Like, yes, Dad, we get it.
Now,
of course you have. Yeah.
On the mantelpiece.
Nice. So. Love that. That is sick. So standard question. I already know the answer, but people listening might not. Bro split, or are you team PPL, optimal PPL?
No, I think. See, even team PPL now are transitioned into some form of bro split, because they're adding in push, pull, legs, arms. I'm like, why are you?
I've seen this. Yeah, I've seen this.
So bro split all the way for me. Yeah. 100%.
I've seen. I was watching the Real Bodybuilding podcast, and Ian Villiers said on there, he was like, they were talking about bodybuilders' arms. Like, I've got, my arms are just small. They are like, they're not my strongest body part, but I'm working on them. But Ian made a comment and he was like, I hate bodybuilders that just have small arms. And they were saying, do you think it's because everyone's doing push, pull, legs? And I was sort of at home like, well, I do arm day and they still don't grow. But it's funny. I've seen a lot of people's like plans and all that now. They are push, pull, legs and arms. But I don't understand what people like. I was interviewing Taff. I was speaking to Taff about it. He was like, you know, success leaves clues. Like you do a bro split. David K does a bro split. So many pros and top guys all do bro split. So why the sudden need to change? Do you feel that's because I personally feel like it's because people are trying to fit in. They want to do what's the trend or what's cool. Not necessarily for everyone, because I've got clients who I've given push-pull leg splits to before, or upper lower splits, because it suits them. But from a bodybuilding perspective, why has this become a thing? Why do you think?
One, because it's fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
Two, because a lot of the science would support that, which, you know, you can make a sort of an argument for anything like that. But you know what's funny really is that with bodybuilding, like there was this whole thing that come out, like, you know, you shouldn't do fasted cardio. Like it's like, but bodybuilders have been doing fasted cardio and getting shredded since time began. Yeah. And it's like little things like that where it's like, you know, you're trying to reinvent the wheel, but really with bodybuilding, like, you know, if you train, you know, all your muscle groups with a very good amount of intensity, weight loads, and a decent amount of frequency, and you eat all your meals, like, you will get results, no doubt about it. So I feel like it's become more fashionable, and people know the science supports that it, you know, would be better for you, especially for beginners. But like, I just think that it all comes down to, as I said, like, you know, trying to create a balanced physique.
Yeah.
Is not necessary. Like, I've got people who go, without getting off, so I've got people who go to our gym and they do push-pull legs, and they've got huge legs and small upper bodies, and I'm like, why are you training legs like twice a week? You should be training legs once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I get out of that mindset, because it's like, yeah, but, you know, we'll get strong for squatting. I'm like, yeah, that's good, but if you're doing a bodybuilding show, like, you're fourth in symmetry straight away, even though you've got the most amount of muscle.
Right.
Because you've got a small upper body and huge legs. So from a judging perspective, you're not getting placed first no matter how good you are in symmetry round.
Right.
So that loses you ground straight away, where you could have a slightly fatter guy who's perfectly symmetrical and he's beating you every time. And it's like, so things like that, it's like, you know, as I said, like, you know, like say, like putting emphasis on training arms properly. If you've got small arms, you need to train them more often and give them their own day and their own time, not more. So.
Yeah, I don't get there is, again, I think this is just a trend thing, but people say like, oh, I hate doing arms, or, oh, who's got time for arms? I love training arms. I mean, like I say, they don't grow the way they should, but when you can't straighten your arms properly, you've got I know a chest pump is the cure for everything, but arms is close in there. I feel like it's a decent arm pump.
And I definitely think it's become like this thing over time. Like I said, it's almost like not cool to train arms because it's too bro. But actually, as I said, it's something that can, like, how many people do you know who've got like great arms who can kind of get away with like some of their shots being rubbish and actually look pretty decent? Like, if you've got a really small chest but you've got a huge arm on a side chest, like, that's all you can look at. Yeah. Whereas if you've got tiny arms, like, it's hard. It ruins a lot of the shots.
Yeah, and
like, you better have two bigger arms than you are kind of anything else. You know what I mean?
And I think that's why, like, I rely on my hamstrings and my side shots, because when I hit my side shots, I know my arms always look in proportion, but I look at them, I'm like, oh, I wish they were bigger. But then I'm like, it's cool because, all right, they look good, but you can look down at the legs and you know what, it matches. That's what's holding me together a little bit at the moment.
I do think, I mean, I said it recently, but I think that arms becomes a little bit of an afterthought for people, and people don't train with the same intensity that they would maybe the back or the legs, and that's the way you need to train arms if they're not growing. Like, they need to be like not just a couple of sets of curls at the end of you know your chest workout. They need to be like hammered and done hard, like with big compound lifts, like big JM presses and big, you know, close grip presses and dips and things like that. Like, you're going to actually put mass on your arms rather than just with a few, like, you know, rope push downs or whatever.
And a lot of gyms can't even use the ropes as well. Like in the gym that I work at, because of like COVID and not being able to sanitize and clean properly, you can't even use the rope. So
really?
right,
using two at once, mate. So.
So you touched on this earlier, which was pretty cool, but I thought we'd just go back into it quickly. So what is it you do for work? So you're obviously an online coach and prep coach, judge as well. I did forget to mention that as well. You judge the shows, which is funny because when I go to a show and see you in the audience, I'm like, are you not working then? But you can't judge, can you, when you've got clients in there? So how does that work? Because sometimes I must think, are you even going to judge today?
Yeah. So obviously, now that I've got an IFBB Pro card, I can't judge in any other federation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The stipulation of your pro contract, so that you sign a waiver to basically say you can't do this, can't do that, can't guest pose at other federations, you can't compete in other federations. That's all
Wow.
the stipulations of being an IFBB pro. So it's like it's something I love doing as well. I love judging bodybuilding shows. That's probably one of the biggest things that I've hated to give up, but on the same side, means I can still go watch the shows, of course, especially if I've got clients in.
Yeah.
Getting back to the subject then, so usually if you are judging, if you've got clients in the show, you can judge that class basically, which is a fair way to do it for sure. But as far as a job-wise then, so pretty much a full-time online coach now because of COVID.
Yeah.
So the job I used to do, and still doing to a certain degree at the moment when gyms open back up, I work for a company called Creative Fitness Marketing, which is a marketing company for health clubs specifically. They're probably there's only one other company that does it in the UK. So they're based in the UK and Australia, and they basically go into a gym every 6 weeks, a new gym or health club or hotel, and they basically do a big gym membership campaign for that club over a 6-week period or 4 to 6 week period. So basically, living out of a suitcase and traveling around the country, basically.
But I'm not gonna lie, because I've seen on your story and stuff, because there was the gym you went to in Australia, and I think it was being built while you was out there. And then is that one you ended up working in as well then?
So my big boss, if you like, the guy who owns My Zone and CFM, he is a very close friend of ours, and I've worked in his gym and Coach DSL.
Yeah.
They had a gym together back in when I first started working for them at Feel Good Fitness.
Right.
And I got the job through them. So we went and built, I didn't build anything. I wheeled a few bits of equipment around. But basically, we built his 5th gym over in Australia. So we went there and did the big launch for their club, basically. So
I remember just tracking your stories and just watching it. It looked amazing. Like that.
Unreal.
Your job looks like you live a bodybuilder's dream. Like, I know you got to live out the suitcase and stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong, your partner, she does it as well.
Yeah, same job. Yeah.
So do you guys go out on jobs together and you travel together as well?
My boss, basically. So.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well, she is in a relationship anyway, so.
Yeah. They all are. All the women are. We know this. Oh, there she is. There's the boss. That's amazing. So when pretty much full-time online coach now, but do you think that you're going to continue doing that job, or do you think you're going to get to the point where it will just be online forever?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the kind of middle of transitioning between the both, really. I absolutely love the job with CFM, but it's kind of getting to the point where online coaching takes up too much time, so I probably will transition out at the end of this year. I always said that this last year was going to be my last year with CFM.
Right.
Obviously, because of COVID hit, I only actually worked 10 weeks last year.
Right.
Out of 52 weeks, because obviously we did a promo, and then obviously everything got shut, and then we did one right at the end, and then they shut again.
Right.
So yeah, to be honest, that's probably the way it will go.
Nice. Well, if they are listening to this, give me a shout. I think I haven't got the arms, but I could definitely jump in and do the job. It does sound like amazing fun. I'm not going to lie. Sounds wicked. Because that's what you was doing in Southampton, wasn't it? When we met and we trained at Spartans.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a great job as long as you as long as you don't mind being on the road, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You've got there's a lot of people on the road now who've got families and kids and dogs and whatnot. And it's definitely harder because you're away for a full week and you go back at weekends or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a young person's job, really. You're better off to kind of be able to just you want to go there and you stay in a hotel for a week, or student accommodation or whatever like that. It's great because you'll get to see all the UK.
Yeah.
To me, that's a good thing about it. And then you do obviously have the opportunity, if you want to go over and work in Australia as well, you can do that as part of the job, which is cool. So yeah, it's just one of them things that's it's definitely a good little job to have if you don't mind kind of not having your home comforts and taking your George Foreman and your air fryer around in your car.
Right. So in terms of gyms, I never ask people for a favorite because I feel like it's too hard. But can you name your top 5 gyms that you've been to or trained at?
Yes. So non-biased.
Yeah.
Gym Unity in the UK.
Yeah.
Okay, in Burton. Okay. would say, so a lot of the international ones that have been, so Olympia Gym here is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Muscle City in Australia is unbelievable. Like, it's the biggest gym I've ever been into.
Wow.
I think that Doherty's gym in Australia, in Brunswick, where Josh Lawrence used to train, I think he used to train in that.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. So they are that's very much there for the kind of atmosphere and the kind of vibe and the kind of, like, you know, all the pro signatures on the wall, like Dorian Yates and everything. Like, that's a fantastic train at, with some proper old school kit in there as well. That's great. I really like Ultraflex in Rotherham as well. Yeah. Let me think, where else is good? Ben Francis Gym in New York.
Oh, yeah. Have you got the jumper?
Of course, I bought a whole wheel of clothing when I went there. So, but yeah, that's probably a good 5. And I train at Shreds in Swad, which is down the road from me as well. And that's a really cool gym. He's got lots of bespoke pieces of kit in there. It's not the biggest gym in, like, you ever think of, but it's just like, it's a class gym for, like, hand-picked stuff. And the guy who owns it's a bodybuilder as well, and, you know, it's just like, you've got like the true squats in there, and he's got like some just like individual bits and pieces put together in there, and that's a really cool gym. People who maybe not know that as well in the UK, when the gyms open back up, go give that a visit for sure.
Yeah, we're planning because I'm going to do like filming and training again, but I've said to Holly as well, like, I want to travel and go to other different gyms, because I love going to different gyms. I know there's this whole thing of, you know, when you've got your training plan, stick to your plan, and, you know, even if you go to one of these gyms, you know, so this is my question to you. If you had a plan and you went to a gym where there were all these toys, would you stick to what the plan said, or would you have to play with the toys?
No, I'm a bro. I need to play with the toys.
Good. I'm glad to know, because I'm
Olympia
huge for that.
Like, is the worst for that. So, like, my client, Ahmed, who's here, he's hilarious, because he's like, my training sessions are like 2.5 hours. I'm like, mate, it's too long. Like, too long what you're doing. And then I've come over and trained with him, and I was like, training chest for like 2.5 hours the other day. I was like, I understand why you train chest for 2.5 hours now. Because there's just like, oh, this one looks cool, and oh, this one looks cool. And this one looks cool. And they're all so different, but then so there's like stuff we've just not used before. And I think when you find new toys like that, you know, you want to go like, let's go and do 2 sets and everything. It's great.
Yeah, definitely. That's why when I saw you posted the thing about the True Squat, that was obviously the Shreds gym. I'd seen Nick Walker and Matt Jansen use one of those, and then when I saw you using it, I was like, right, please tell me you've gone to America and this is not in England. It's like, no, it's in the gym in England. I was like, right, I need to go there, because I'll go to a gym for a machine. Like, I went to, obviously, everyone has to go at some point. I went to Muscle Works Orpington. I wanted to use, that's a really good gym. I wanted to use the Arsenal Strength hack squat because, you know, Luke Sando. But I'll be honest, it was a great hack squat, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. But I'd gone there with that in my mind. I was like, I'm going to use the Arsenal Strength hack squat. They got a belt squat in the corner, which I used, which I preferred. And I thought that was wicked. But you have to go to certain gyms and use sort of those iconic bits of equipment, even if that's all you do, or like you say, just do 2 sets and then like run away. At least you have used it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, you know, you do need to experiment with these kind of things. Like, you know, you need to find those kind of bits of kit that just you get a good connection on. And, you know, like hack squats is like a really big blend of things where it's like, I mean, I trained at a gym once, Gold Star Gym in Newcastle. This is a fantastic old school bodybuilding gym. If anyone ever gets to go there, that's class. And that gym there had one of the best hack squats I've ever used, because the plate or the back pad on the hack squat used to come up to about kind of like just below your chest. Right. So basically, you'd be able to get a full like push your butt back into the hack squat machine, and just the smoothest. Like, you used to have like a little spring on it at the bottom, I think, but just the smoothest bit of like hack squat I've ever used. And like a plate aside was like heavy, but it was like such a nice bit of kit. So you'll find some things like that where they're just like, you know, they feel great on your knees. And you'll get some hack squats, they look good, and then you get on them and like you just can't get comfortable. You know? Yeah.
It almost feels like there's too much machine. It's funny you say that about a hack squat, because at the gym I used to train at in Aylesbury, the fitness academy, they had their old hack squat, and it basically, I think it was like kind of unscrewed, but it used to come out a bit at the bottom. But then when you would go back up again, it would push you against it. So it actually worked in your favor. There is the risk that it will come off and you'll fall through. But if not, it just works so well. And we love that hex squat. I mean, the grips disappeared on it. It looked all rusty, and every now and then they've just put like bike handle grips on it. And like you say, gems like that you find in these little independent gyms, don't you, that you just can't get anywhere else.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely agree.
That's mad. So future plans then. I'm going to ask you this question. I feel very disrespectful asking this question, but you know I don't ever mean any disrespect. But I'm sure a lot of people think it. I don't even listen to people when they say, you know, oh, this guy's not natty or not. I'm not in the natty, non-natty debate. But my question as a young bodybuilder, seeing what you've done, like fan and friend, do you feel like are you going to chase, you know, the pro goal now to try and win a pro show? And do you think that you're going to transition over, you know, to the enhanced side? Or if not, are you going to stay natural and just see what you can do? Where's your mind at with it all?
Cool. So I think it very much changes your mindset as far as like, you know, from always being a natural bodybuilder. If someone had asked me that 5 years ago, it would have been like 100% always be natural. I can't say that it hasn't ever crossed my mind, especially after the pro show. But you know what, to be honest now, being where I am in like life and with business and all that kind of stuff, I'm very much less likely to want to cross over still. So I'm kind of like 99% still going to stay natural, 1% there, okay. Because the thing is, you have to weigh up when you get to this level, like, do I want to be known as the IFBB Natty Pro, okay, especially from a business point of view and all that kind of stuff, and if I could ever maybe place top 5 in a pro show and God forbid ever win one, like, I don't know whether that's possible yet. But for me, it's, would the ego take over where I would want to get to the Olympia?
Right.
And more than likely, that's what I would have to do, I think, if I ever wanted to compete against the guys, because they carry a lot more size with the same kind of shape and flow, maybe not quite a smaller waist, so you've got obviously some sort of perks to it. But I definitely don't ever take offense to the question, because I think it's a really kind of like a good talking point of, you know, you change, your mind changes, especially off like, if I was able to make like a rash decision, come off of like, you know, 9th out of 10th place in a show, turning them absolutely peeled to bits, and think it's the best of the lot, and you think that that's just not going to be good enough. Very much after that dust has settled, I was kind of like, well, I think that's just what I'm going to have to do. But then, like, you know, your opinion changes, because I think that, like I said, I can still do very, very well, still enjoy this whole process of dieting and training, and as I said, like building the business around it. Like, I have probably 99% of my client base they're all natural.
Right.
And they're all basically people come from all over the world who want to coach with a guy who's obviously got to the top level of natural bodybuilding. So it's like, you know, like, I don't want to go down that route. Please show me another way. And I think that's kind of more of where my niche is and really what I want to do now. Whereas, you know, as I said, I'm not just so caught in the train of kind of like, I just want to get to Olympia. Of course I do.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's other things that come into play at this point in my life. And it's still a big decision. You maybe ask me in 4 years. Do that. Sorry, give me 1 second. Your iPods have connected to the iPad. Sorry, 1 sec. Yo, you got me?
Yep. Oh, there's a little bit of lag, but you're back.
Sorry, yeah, the disconnected to her earphones as she walked.
Oh, that's
all
right.
So.
Gosh, you know me just shouting in her ear in a sec.
So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, no, I love that. So
yeah.
So the plan will be to compete again at some point. Then you're gonna obviously, because you have to compete a certain amount of times to keep your pro card.
No. You basically just, if you are competing that season, you pay for your pro card basically. Oh. So once you've earned an IFBB Pro card, unless you get banned for whatever reason, which has obviously been happening with other pros in the past and stuff, you know, if they went and competed in like Napa or something, that you could lose a pro card. You know, that's actually effectively what you have to do. Like, let's say I decided to go and compete with the BNBF again, I would have to re-win my pro card to be eligible to complete the IFBB again.
Right.
So my plan is to compete this year. I don't know what show effectively yet. I wanted to do Tampa. That's in August.
Right.
And then obviously, like, Arnold Classic UK is a possible. The UK Grand Prix is a possible. But I wanted to go and compete more internationally. One, to have a holiday.
Yeah.
And two, to be able to kind of just experience some different like judges and stuff, you know. So that's kind of the plans going forward at the moment. So very much still want to compete like almost like every year if I can.
Yeah.
At the moment,
Yeah. It's mad hearing you say like I'm thinking about doing Tampa because you know as a bodybuilder, like I always know when the Tampa Pro is one. Even though I can never watch it, it's one of my favorite shows to see because I don't know, everyone seems to really like. It just seems like a wicked show, and to know that you can go to Tampa and compete, that's mind blowing. It's one thing seeing your favorite bodybuilders online and everything, but actually knowing someone thinking, wow, like Rob could actually be at Tampa this year. That's insane. That's mind blowing.
It is mad. Like I looked at basically the show roster this year, and I was like basically trying to find all the places that I wanted to go on holiday. Like the Bahamas is one of them.
Right. Okay.
Florida is obviously one of them. So I'm like, oh, I could just like pick a pro show and go and have a holiday. So that's the plan. And obviously, say I don't know what's going on with the Arnold Classic at the moment. There doesn't seem to be a affiliate bodybuilding for that show for some reason. Goodness knows why.
Right. Okay.
All the ins and outs, but basically, if you're doing an Arnold Classic, it should be an IFBB Pro show in it. But
yeah,
at the moment, it is to be confirmed. So I don't know what's going on with that. I'm sure if anyone wants to enlighten me on that one, would be cool.
Let us know. And so this is just a quick question for sort of any young competitors. Now, one thing that I struggled with after I competed in my season was I just wanted to eat and like just get fat. What's your, because from the outside looking in, I look at people like you, and I always mention you and Rich. You're probably my two favorite bodybuilders. But I look at you guys, and you seem to just handle everything. Now, don't get me wrong. Me personally, I never complained during my prep. I just crack on and do it because that's what you're doing it for. But it is a struggle. How do you guys make it look like you're not struggling? Because from the outside looking in, if anyone watches your stories from last year leading up to the show, you'd be thinking, is Rob even prepping? Like, this guy seems real cool. Like, you just seem to just handle everything. And even like after a show, like does it just come with experience, or do you have to be sort of like stronger minded, or how do you handle that whole sort of thing?
So are we talking about like getting fat in an off season and then taking that body fat off, or are you talking...
sort of like post show? So after your season's finished and everything, because you're still in insane condition now, like you're in mad, like your shape is still mad now. Like, do you? You've obviously seen, well, what you seem to have done is like a good reverse diet out, and you're steady. Before, have you just gone like, oh, all right, I finished competing now, I just want to eat, and like, how do you deal with your sort of, I guess, post show window, if you like?
Okay, so a couple of things. Experience comes with it a lot, because if you'd have asked me this question in 2009, when I'd been dieting on 50 grams of carbs a day and 2 hours of cardio a day, there is not a person on this planet who could have told me not to eat, and I wouldn't eat. Like, you almost have to go through that experience yourself, and you almost have to learn the hard way. So for me, like, I could not stop eating when I'd done my first shows. Like, I could not basically have 10 minutes where I wasn't putting some food in my mouth. Because obviously what I think it all comes down to the cost you pay to get to that point of condition. And this is a really big thing, and something I've been talking about a lot recently. So, like, for example, the food and preps I've done this year, I was on an absolute ton of food going into these shows. So one, I'll give myself more time. Two, probably just a bit more experience of kind of like getting down, getting lean. And that doesn't mean I didn't have to drop my calories at some point. But if you are going into a show and you've been on very, very low calorie consumption, all you're going to want to do is eat after that show. So for me, it wouldn't make sense to restrict yourself afterwards. You're better off getting out of that ditch first, and then kind of maybe putting a bit of a, an ease off. I mean, as I said at the time, if you'd asked me this a few, 10 years ago, there was no structure in place. It was just like, I just want to feel normal again. Okay, so you've kind of got to experience that first of all. As I said, but it greatly depends on what you've done to get to that point. So like this time round, because I was eating a lot of food, I basically just kind of, the only difference I made to my prep was I changed my last meal from oats to eggs on toast, basically.
Right.
So I was still eating like 500 grams of carbs a day. I was still eating a good amount of protein a day. And like basically the week after the show, my missus was doing a photo shoot with Phibos at Muscle Works, Orpington. And that was like 4 or 5 weeks ago away. So I was like, right, well, I might as well just kind of like ease on prep and just kind of add some foods back in that I want. So I very much did that. So really, to answer the question, I think you have to do it your own way. I think you can have something on paper and say, like, this looks absolutely fantastic. I'm going to add 5 grams of rice every week until my calories are at 4,000. But it's not feasible, because at the end of the day, if you're kind of, you said, like, you know, in this massive ditch of kind of, you know, low calories, the most sensible thing to do was to try and get your body back to normal as quickly as possible. There's nothing wrong with having a structured regime after a show. It's a much better way to do things. The biggest thing advice I can give to people is to kind of not look at your show date as your end date of dieting. You should look to punch through the goal, basically. It's a saying from James Melville, a British champion in BMBF. Basically, you almost like when you're hitting a bag, you punch through the punch. And it's the same when you kind of think about your diet. So you basically want to look to 3 to 4 weeks after that, you know, thing of adding in maybe 1 or 2 things that you like to have back in your diet every day. But really, as a sake of, you know, I said, like, building your calories back up. But without going off on a tangent, the biggest mistake I used to make was I used to triple my intake as soon as I finished the prep. So I go from 1,500 calories to 4,000 calories.
Right.
Just doing that too quickly. I think that you can spend a bit of time with, like, you know, having a bit of the food that you want, but just kind of not going so up so quickly, because your body's primed for fat gain at that point.
Yeah.
And I think people need to understand that. It's like, you know, you think, oh, it's just water I've put on, but no, 100% you would have put on some fat very, very quickly. So having good structure in place of what you're going to do, but on the same side, like, you know, don't look at what I do with my reverse, because the other day, I mean, you know, 15 years into competing or so, or 12 years into competing, having done multiple shows in reverse after shows. And for me now, the digestive issues is not worth the food I'm putting in my mouth, no matter what it is. Because, you know, it's just like, I can't eat because it gets that bad when you're just pushing food in.
Yeah.
So you've almost got to go through that experience as well. You know, you have to learn the hard way, I think, really. So
I've been there, and it's not pretty. I remember just thinking to myself, I just need to stop. And funny enough, 2018, the second season, was much better. Like I handled it. Don't get me wrong, I was still eating a lot more, but I handled it much better. Because like 2017, I put on 20 kilos in like 10 days. I went 0 to 100. I just couldn't stop. And then I went out to Germany to see my best friend, which didn't help anything. And I remember I couldn't even see like my belly button at one point. My stomach was just so swollen and distended. I was like, I need to just get home and get on a treadmill and just eat some food that's not excessively high in sodium or calories.
Definitely matters where you go. Do you know a lot of people, they're like the biggest mistakes you can make is like booking an all-inclusive holiday the week after your show. I know a lot of people who do that, and it's like, you know, you basically go from having all this structure to none. And the problem is with that is that, you know, you're setting yourself up to be where you're going to just consume a ton of calories every day. And like usually when we finish Worlds, we'd be in Miami or somewhere. So you've got 3 or 4 days or 5 days of eating nothing but eating meals out. Yeah. And that all used to screw me over as well. So like now, as you spend this year, because we went straight into lockdown the day after the show. And what was I really doing? You know, other than if I wanted to maybe get a Five Guys as a takeout, it's, you know, that was about as adventurous as it got, you know.
Well, it's never the same anyway, is it? Five Guys takeaway is never the same.
Yeah, it's not. No, exactly.
Right. So just a couple last questions to wrap it up. So if you could, because you're a competitive person, if you could compete against, so if there was a lineup of 5 people, so 4 others, including yourself, who would you love to get on stage with from the natural world? Well, I'm going to do it from the natty world, just for give a bit of a shout out to natural bodybuilders, because people have always talked about, you know, seeing a super show, like they'd love to see like you, Rich, Sam, David Kay, and everything like that. Do you have like a top 4 who you would have in a lineup?
Yes, and none of them on the basis is that I want to win the show. So I'm going to pick 5 mediocre bodybuilders.
Right, okay.
No, not really. That would be my how should we say, my probably my honest answer of like 5 people who I think are pretty decent, but I think I could beat.
Mm-hmm.
But in all honesty, like, if it was a super show, it would be David Kay, Nate Williams, Babacar, Godsdecky, and Samwell.
That would be an epic show. I would pay big cash money to watch that. I'd break all lockdown rules to see that.
You know, I'm coming 6th in that. So that's why I wouldn't pick him normally. So, yeah.
Oh, all right. And then finally, a fun question. Go-to cheat meal. What is it? What's the go-to cheat meal? What is the Thanos go-to cheat meal?
Changed, you know, I've changed.
Right.
I can't believe I'm saying it right. It always used to be a Bob special at Domino's, right? Which is a large stuffed crust pizza with a barbecue base with chicken, bacon, pepperoni, and tandoori chicken.
Nice.
Right? That was the pizza I had for the 10 years straight. Never change from that pizza.
Right.
However, now it's the digestive problems it causes me for 3 days. So since finishing prep in 2020, I still haven't had a Domino's.
Wow.
So I can't say it's my go-to anymore.
Right, okay.
So I would very much say that I'm converted now to Shake Shack over here.
Right.
So Shack burger, just basically really simple brioche bun, beef bacon, not pork bacon. Okay, because they don't eat pork over here. So that's good with basically double cheese in it, and just basically two of those burgers for sure. Yeah, nice. And then we do literally opposite of the Shake Shack in the Mall of Emirates. They've got Ben's Cookies as well, and that's always a winner. I used to have one in Oxford that I used to go to all the time. So that would be
I'm sure they've got Ben's Cookies in Brighton in the lanes as well. I think I might have had.
Yeah, there's a few around the UK. I actually got served my cookies from Uncle Ben, or the man himself in Oxford. Yeah, the guy's 70.
Flipping hell.
So, just bobbing around, just working out in the little shop for a day.
Yeah. Love that. Still turning up. Yeah, I started this.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yes, that would be my go-to. So Shake Shack has taken the #1 spot currently. Nice.
So if anyone can take anything from this, you need to train hard, eat potatoes, Shake Shack, and the Bob Special Pizza, and you too could become a Natty IFBB Pro.
You can, yeah.
Love that, mate. Well, I'm going to put all your socials down on here, but is any, if you want to plug them, tell everybody what they are and stuff for them to go follow you on.
So, so just on Instagram, it's at Bob Waterhouse 86. Don't go on Facebook anymore because I'm so 2021. All the cool kids. What else? And just email is robertwaterhouse86@gmail.com. So
that's if you want to get in touch. And
for coaching and things like that. I'm nearly at capacity for the year, which is good. Nice position to be in for sure. But obviously some of the contest preps are now coming up with these shows. Obviously around the corner with Two Bros, BMBF, and all that kind of stuff. So especially if you're a natural as well and you want to do a show, then yeah, sure, hit me up, and take it from there.
There we go. And do it this year, because next year I'm hoping that could be my time to return to the stage. I'm not having anyone taking my spot. So get in contact with him now and make the most of it this year.
Exactly that.
Wicked. Well, Rob, thank you so much for being on, man. I really appreciate it, bro. It's been great to talk to you, and I hope everyone enjoys this.
And I'm just going to throw it out there, you're very, very welcome to come down and try Gym Unity and Shreds, and we'll hit them workouts Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday. So just let me know when you want to come down. We'll do that. That's perfect, because I don't work weekends no more, because now I'm doing PT in the evening and school during the week. And my missus' family, her mum, she lives in Derby, so she knows Gym Unity. She's like, it's right down the road, so we'll definitely be doing that. Sounds perfect, mate. Wicked. I can't wait, mate. Last time we trained together, you fried my back so bad, I popped my rib here. Do you remember I said I couldn't come and train because I popped my rib? I leant over at work and my rib popped, and I was like, I was in, and I felt like such a mug. She was like, are we training today? I was like, I can't, because I've got a sore rib. But seriously, mate, that was horrible. So I'm ready for that again, is what I'm saying. Sounds good. That's a wicked session. Right, well, I'm going to let you get back to your lovely Dubai evening. Thank you for coming on. Guys, don't forget to like, comment,
and subscribe. And yeah, let us know what you thought of this episode. So until next time, peace out.
Guys, take it easy.